Hello. In this video, we're going to find the following. We have the limit as x approaches 4 of the square root of x minus 2 all over x minus 4. Here's the thing, if you plug in the 4, you're going to get 0 over 0, so something weird is happening. We may or may not be able to actually find this limit, and so what I want to do is I want to look at this in a couple of different ways. Now, to do this, we're going to have to look at this in the form of the following. This is what we call a difference of two squares. We have a plus b, a minus b, is equal to a squared minus b squared. Or another way of looking at that is a squared minus b squared equals a plus b times a minus b. It depends on what you're looking at. If you're starting out with a product of two what we call conjugates, then that's going to give you a difference of two squares. But if you start out with the difference of two squares and you want to factor it, that will give you a product of conjugates. Now, notice that this a squared is the square of the first of each of those terms, and the b squared is the square of both of those terms. And then we have a minus sign in between because we have a plus b and a minus b. Same thing is happening here, just in the reverse order. So I want to look at this in two different ways. First, I want to look at this in terms of using the product of conjugates to give you a difference of two squares in order to get rid of the square root in the numerator. To do that, we're first going to say this. The limit as x approaches 4 of the square root of x minus 2 all over x minus 4 is what this is, but we want to multiply both the numerator and denominator by something. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the one that has the square root in it. Now the conjugate of this is going to be the same things, square root of x and 2, but with a plus sign. But if I multiply the numerator by that, I have to multiply the denominator by that as well. Okay, notice what's going to happen here. First of all, in the denominator, nothing's going to multiply. We're just going to leave it as x minus 4 times the square root of x plus 2. The numerator, however, we have square root of x minus 2 times square root of x plus 2, which is in this form here. Now, this form means that this is what we're going to get, a squared minus b squared. In other words, we're going to have a minus sign and then square each of these. So square that. Square root of x squared is just x, because the square root and square are inverses of each other. And then the 2 squared is 4. And that's it. That is the product of square root of x minus 2 times square root of x plus 2. Now, if you want to, you could FOIL this out if you want. I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and use this formula. But notice something. The x minus 4's cancel at that point. And we're just left with the limit as x approaches 4 of 1 over the square root of x plus 2. And you may say, well, we still have a problem. Well, no, we don't. Because if we plug in 4 now, square root of 4 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. So the denominator is not 0 anymore. And the limit as x approaches 4 of 1 is just, well, 1 is the constant. So this is going to give us 1 over the square root of 4 plus 2, which simplifies to 1/4. Fantastic. And that's the answer. It is 1/4. But there is another way of doing this. Instead of going through it like this, let's go through it a different way. So what we're going to do is take the question, and instead of multiplying, we're just going to factor. Because notice that we multiplied the numerator, so this time instead of multiplying top and bottom by something, we're just going to factor one of these. And we're going to factor the x minus 4. And the reason we're going to factor x minus 4 is because this is, in fact, in the form of a difference of two squares. It's in this form. But to see that, it would be easiest to write it down like this. Now, the reason I know to write it down like this is because if you notice, going from x to square root of x, you just take the square root. Going from 4 to 2, we take the square root. So taking the square root of each one of these works. It doesn't matter if this is minus or plus, but as long as this is minus, this works. So now this will factor. We have the limit as x goes to 4 of the square root of x minus 2 in the numerator, and in the denominator, square root of x squared minus 2 squared. Well, it has two sets of parentheses, one positive, one negative. And then basically just drop the squares and write down what we have for each one of these. So we have the square root of x, 2, square root of x, 2. And hopefully you see that you can cancel that and that. And what you're left with is the limit as x goes to 4 of 1 over the square root of x plus 2, which is exactly what we got right here. So it will simplify to 1/4. So this works either way. It's up to you which way you choose to solve this. So what you can do is you can multiply both numerator and denominator. That way you can get a common factor in both numerator and denominator, and then go from there. Or you can factor one of the numerator or denominator and go from there. It's up to you. Alrighty. Well, I believe that's it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and I will see you in the next one. Have fun.